welcome back to my channel. For this video, I have books around me. Well, you can't see some on the side, but we are going through the 85, 84-ish books that I read this year. Maybe like 83, because Goodreads, I did include some that I DNF'd. So let's get into it. I had to get my iPad to look and see because I don't have physical copies for every single book. So for example, January, we're starting off with The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I honestly do not remember what happened in this book. I remember I did not like it at all. I did not like it. Don't remember what happened. It's supposed to be like a mystery thriller. Wasn't feeling it. Then I read What Lies in the Woods. This I actually really did love. I did predict the little twist that was gonna happen. Basically what happened was this book follows loosely friends, who went through this horrible situation when they were younger, dealing with like this guy that was a serial killer. And so now they're older and they reunited, and I did like this. I think I gave it maybe like a 5, because this is when I was just getting into like really trying to rate and do ratings like that. So I think I gave it a 5 at the time, but looking back, I would probably give it like a 3.5. Like it was good, but it was not a 5. Next up, I do have the physical copy of this one. We have In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. This is my first Christina Lauren's book. This I actually had started in the end of December and finished in January. This is a Christmas book, and the main character ends up reliving the same like week. Like if something goes wrong, she'll do the same day over and over again to basically figure out what it is that she needs to do to get out of this little like days of living the day over and over again. I thought this was really cute, and I thought it was unique because I've seen movies like that, but I haven't read a book like that. So I think this is probably like a 3.5 as well. It was really cute. I do recommend this for like a holiday book. So like next year, December time, if you want a good holiday book. This was really cute. It was really like Hallmarky. Don't have this physical book. I read The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelis. I can't say his last name. This book was a thriller, and I actually don't think I predicted, like, so with thrillers and mysteries, I kind of rate it based on how predictable it is. So it was kind of predictable, kind of not, but I still really had a good time reading it. So I would say it's like a 4.5. It was really, really good, and I do recommend it. Basically, the main character is a psychotherapist, and he specifically wants to work at this one mental institute with this patient who killed her husband, and then she just never talks again, and it goes from there. I probably should have put this somewhere in order so I could like. Tender is the Flesh. This was a little short horror book, and it basically what happens here is that they live in a world where animal meat is tainted, so they cannot eat animal meat. So instead they eat human meat, and so humans are bred like animals and cut up, and like it's just horrible. I feel like this is my first real dabble in horror. I do have to read Meat because I heard that it was inspired by Meat, which is another horror book. So this was kind of my first dabble in horror, and I do want to get a little bit more into it because this was really, really good. I did like it, and it's weird to say like it was really good because because of how gruesome it was and how like gross it was. It's really weird saying that the book was good, but I just feel like the author did a good job describing and making me feel like ew, like ew. And then the ending, she did a really good job, because I was like, what? I think I like threw the book. I was so like, why did that happen? So I feel like because of that, the book was really good. I could rate it like maybe like a 4.5, but it's just weird saying that like a book this gruesome and gross was good, if that makes any sense at all. I don't have a copy of this book either, but it's called Bronx Masquerade, and this is basically like a little short, so it takes place in a school, and the high school teacher has got the children writing poetry, and so it's those short poems basically from the view of the children. And my fiance actually recommended this book to me. I listened to it on Audible actually, and I thought it was really good on Audible because you just hear, like, it was the same narrator, but you just really get into the characters and what they're going through. Like, some of these students have it really hard. There's this one student who like just felt so alone and so lonely that she really just wanted a baby because she thought that that was going to fill her needs. So it was interesting to get into the mindset of like how you would think that at such a young age, because at that age I definitely was not thinking about having children or like being lonely, but these characters have gone through a lot. I do recommend it. I do want to start getting more into like poetry, so I think this was really good. I don't know what I rated it, but I do recommend that book. I have If He Had Been With Me. This is a romance, and this is a YA romance. So these two have been best friends because their moms are best friends. So they have been best friends their whole life, and then something happens where they kind of fall apart. It's basically a misunderstanding, but you know, they're so young, like they just didn't really know how to like talk it out and avoid like what happened happening. Like, it could have really been resolved with them talking. But people say that this made them cry. I didn't really cry. It was really sad. In the beginning, it tells you what happened, so you know what is going to happen to this character. So it was sad because I knew what was happening to the character, because it sets it up in the very beginning, what happens to the main character, Finn. And I didn't cry, but it was really sad when it did happen, because at this point, like, you get to know the characters and how they are, and then you see how cute they could be together. Like, they could be really high school sweethearts. Like, you would expect them to be like high school sweethearts in this book, and there's like a little prologue of how they ended up happy together as a family. And it's completely sad. So if you're in the mood for like a good cry, because I honestly could have cried, I just didn't. There's just I don't know, something about it that just didn't make me cry, but I almost did because it was really sad. So I think this was like a 4, especially because this is like a YA, and I don't know, YA ratings are kind of weird because it's just like, you know, they're usually like super cute. Next up, we have The Midnight Library. This is the first book that I annotated, and this was a book that I read with my book club. And so the character, this, like, check your trigger warnings. This can kind of read like a self-help, just a smidge. I did really like it. I would say it's probably like a 3.5. I think I gave it originally a 5 because it was the first book I annotated, so I was just like really like into it because I annotated it and highlighted it and did all that good stuff here. And it can kind of read like a self-help, but I really did enjoy the character, and I really am glad with how she chose to go about the ending. The main character basically just doesn't want to be alive. Oh my gosh. In this video, you guys should like take shots every time I say basically, because I'm trying to like describe stuff and I'm like, so basically, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My mind goes and then I'm like, basically, and I just stick to those words. This was a 3.5. I have this book with me because I listened to it on audio. This was Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. This is my first Kennedy Ryan book. And by the time you watch this, my 2024 TBR is already out. And I really do want to start reading more of Kennedy Ryan's books. I think I originally gave this a 5. I would give it a 4.5 just because I don't love the miscommunication trope, especially like when they're older. This couple, they've been married, they have 2 kids, and it deals with a miscarriage and a lot of miscommunication going on with this couple. I really do like that she highlights, the author highlights mental health, and the main character is really focused on her mental health, getting back together like with herself, making friends, doing yoga, like just that aspect I really do love, because with the Black community, mental health, like I feel like it's just not talked about a lot, and it's really super important. So I really do like this book. I recommend it. 4.5 just because anything with miscommunication automatically gets knocked down like just half a smidge for me, because I just hate miscommunication in a book. Next up, I have When No One Is Watching. I have to read more from this author. This is a thriller, and it definitely reminded me of Get Out vibes. The 2 characters, it follows 2 characters. One girl, the main character, is Black, and then the main guy character is white, and they end up together. I didn't really expect them to end up together. Like I didn't expect there to be that aspect of romance in here, which I did like because I love the aspect of romance anywhere. But basically all this is in this neighborhood in New York. All of the so this is a Black neighborhood, and you see that it's starting to get generified. So all of these white people are coming in and buying these homes, and then the Black people who own these homes are just all of a sudden nowhere to be found, basically gone missing. I thought it was really, really good. Really, really good. I highly recommend this. This was like a 4.55 star read. Then we have the book that started my obsession back with fantasy. A Court of Thorn and Roses. I feel like I've been talking about this in every video because I'm getting ready to do a reread. I love this book so much. This is a 5-star series. I started this. This is probably like the biggest book that I've read at this point in time. So I was super scared reading this, but I was heavy into book talk at this time, and this was everywhere. Everywhere. They were like, Fae, and I was like, what is Fae? What is this? This book here. This series here, 5 stars. The first one, people say it's like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I can kind of see. It follows 19-year-old Fairy. She ends up killing a wolf who she thinks is just a regular wolf, but this wolf is not a regular wolf. This wolf is a fairy. And so now she is thrown into fairy world because of the fact that she killed this wolf fairy person, and then it just goes from there. And this is 5 stars. I'm holding this right now, and I feel like I should just start the reread. You guys should let me know if you want a vlog on the reread, because I'm holding it and I just feel like opening it up and going back into this world. Next on audio, I listened to Spare by Prince Henry, and this is an autobiography. This is basically just his life story, and it was okay. It's hard to rate autobiographies because you're rating someone's life, so no rating. It was interesting to learn about Prince Henry's life. Next we have I definitely skipped one. So going backwards, before Midnight Library, I read Things We Never Got Over. This was my little introduction to Lucy Score. Yes, I still have the Target sticker on here. At this point, if I take it, I'm afraid to take it off because I left it on here so long. And sometimes when I do take these Target stickers off, it's all sticky here and I don't like it. So I have a thing with these. Sometimes they stay on, sometimes I can get them off. It is what it is. It's my book. It's staying on there for me. It's a romance, and I said A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is the biggest book because for some reason Lucy Score, just all her books are humongous. Like they're 500 some pages, and for me a romance doesn't really need to be this big. I really did like this book. I think I gave this a 4.5 or a 5. This follows Naomi and Knox, and Naomi has a twin. Yes, oh my gosh, because she has a twin sister, so I thought I was getting their names confused. So she has a twin sister who is reaping havoc through this town. And so as soon as Naomi meets Knox, Knox thinks that she's the twin sister, and he's just like, F you. Like, he does not like her. So Lucy Score does like really good Grumpy Sunshine. So this is my introduction to Grumpy Sunshine. I don't love it, don't hate it, kind of in the middle of it. Good vibes. I really did like this romance book. So now going forward to the book that I read after Spare. Now this is a special edition because I love this book so much. And this is called My Dark Romeo. This is a romance book. I don't know if this is categorized as dark romance or not. I feel like this was, after reading some dark romances, I feel like this wasn't really that much of a dark romance, but this was really cute. This follows, it's supposed to be, I guess, like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and I love a good Romeo and Juliet retelling. I love Romeo and Juliet. And so the main character, her father marries her to this man because this man has humiliated her. I got the special edition because I love this book so much. I highly recommend it. My original copy got completely messed up, so I do want to get like the other copy of this, so because I don't want to really, I didn't even take this out of the box. It could be I didn't want to take it out the box just because it says, "You will forever be my perfect dark Romeo." And it says Mr. and Mrs. Costa on the top of it. I didn't even take it out of the box. It's going right back in the box. Did not want to take her nap properly. So I'm gonna try to turn this down low so it does not catch in the video, but we are watching Trolls, the new movie. I did buy it on Amazon. I did. I did. Back into it. We now have Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. Because I love the first one so much, I wanted to read this one. This was not my favorite. I didn't really care for Nash and what's her name? Lena, because this is like a cop romance. So Nash is a cop, Lena is this like bad girl. So it's like Grumpy Sunshine, and I really don't like it because Nash, his character in the other book, he wasn't really as grumpy, but because of something that happened in the first book, he's now this like grumpy character with a chip on his shoulder, and I didn't really like that because he didn't need to be turned into a grump. Like I loved his character in the first book, and I don't care for cop romances, not my thing, but I did love his character in the first one, so I thought, oh, I like this one. No, this was like a 3. On my Kindle, I read Behind Closed Doors. This was a thriller. This was also a book that I read with my book club. This follows a married couple. Yeah, oh, okay. I totally forgot. This is a 3.5 because I totally forgot. But it's coming back to me now. This follows a married couple, and This kind of reminds me of The Housemaid, if you think. It kind of reminds me of The Housemaid, except for she's not a housemaid. There's no housemaid in this. It's just the married couple themselves, and the husband is this awful human being, but behind closed doors, because in front of guests and everybody else, they're the perfect couple. They're the perfect couple, and he's a monster. I do recommend this. This was really, really good. He was horrible. He was horrible. The main character, wife, has a sister with Down syndrome. He was a horrible person. I'm gonna be vague on this one because I think you guys should read it. I'm gonna be vague on a lot of mystery thrillers that I recommend here, or not even recommend that I've read here, because I do want you, well, if I want you to read it, I'll be very vague. I want you to read it and then come back and talk to me about it, because Behind Closed Doors is very, very good. Happy Place by Emily Henry. I did annotate this book. This is my second book I annotated, so I feel a little special place in my heart for this one. This was my introduction to Emily Henry. I honestly, after reading this, I don't feel the need to go read all of her books. I might read another book by her, but I don't feel like it's necessary for me to read anymore. She's not an autobiography by any means, so I may, if it sounds good, I may read it. I don't know, because these characters are supposed to be best friends. It takes place with the main character, but her best friends. I'm just like, are you guys really best friends? Because I understand that people grow apart, but are you guys really best friends? And then the whole thing of fake dating. I think this was my introduction to fake dating, and I do like fake dating, but not like this, because this is like fake dating second chance. This was overly hyped, and I think I said on TikTok that I love this because I was getting really into trying to like do reviews and stuff like that, and I did like it, but it wasn't memorable. The characters, I was just like, are you even really best friends? And the reason why they broke up, I'm just like, are you kidding me? You guys were engaged to be married and you broke up. And then the ending really pissed me off because, like, why did she do that? You changed your whole life for something you're not even good at. I reread these two back to back. This was my real introduction to dark romance. Haunting and Hunting Adeline by H.G. Carlton. This duology was cat and mouse duology. Check your trigger warnings on this book because it gets into it. Zayd is stalking Adeline this whole time, and videos, future videos, I can do more spoilery stuff, but read the book. I did like that. So if you do have more dark romance recommendations, leave them below because I really did like that, and I haven't really read too many dark romances since then, but I did like that. Every Last Secret by A.R. Torre. I don't even remember what it's about. I need to refresh my memory. If my tablet wasn't so slow. But yeah, we need to refresh my memory. I can't. No, I did like this one. I did. I needed a refresher. It's obviously not a 5-star because I did forget what it was about. 5 stars are unforgettable books to me. Like, I know. I remembered. I'm going to reread it. This book here was really good. This is a thriller, and it follows two people. Two women, Kat and Nina. And basically, situation where like the couple seems perfect. So like Kat is married to her husband. She has this perfect life where she doesn't have to work. Her husband is like super successful and rich. Nina, she's married and she's supposed to be happy because this is like her high school sweetheart, and then she's such a bitch. Like she's such a bitch. And oh my god. I really did like this one because the two of them being in both of their minds and being on the mind of a character that you like cannot stand, and still being able to really like the book and like how it ended is a totally another thing, because I hated how she thought, and then there was like a little twist and I was like, what? They're both crazy. Both of these women are insane, and that's what makes the book so good, is that they're both insane. Oh, then we have hood feminism, which I did DNF. The reason being that I DNF this book is I feel like this is a book. Yeah. I feel like the reason why I DNF'd hood feminism is I feel like so the author is Black, and I feel like she wrote this book more so for white people or Caucasians to help them better be an ally to Black people. So I don't feel like it was a book for me as a Black person, because I understand what it's like being a Black person, and I understand the value and the importance of Black Lives Matter and what it means to have allies and the unfairness and the injustice that we face. So for me, it wasn't a book I necessarily need to read. Recommend this book because it is a good book. It's very educational and it will teach people who don't know. Next, after that, I read this baby here. And I actually didn't see anything on TikTok about this book when I picked it up. I just kept seeing it at Target, right? I kept seeing it, and then all of a sudden I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna pick it up, because I don't know, like, I know nothing about this book. This has become my favorite, my obsession. Oh, we're gonna scratch that. I did not read this book this year. Okay. Love in the Time of Serial Killers. This book is a romance, and the main character, Phoebe, just thinks everybody is out like a serial killer. She's obsessed with true crime, and she moves back. Well, she doesn't move back, but it's the summertime. She's writing her dissertation for her PhD. And she's back in her dad's house because her dad passed away, so they're moving things and they're getting the house ready to sell. And the neighbor, Sam, she's convinced that he's a serial killer. This book was probably like a 3. Phoebe, like, I was like, I get it. But her self-sabotage and her thinking really irritated me a lot. Other than that, it was a cute concept. The cover, love the cover. But her character she irked me just a little bit too much. Read It Was All a Dream, Biggie. This book was written by Justin Tinsley, and it kind of just like summarizes Biggie's life. So again, it's not totally an autobiography, but I guess it would kind of fall in that category because it's like a summary of his life. And so for that reason, I can't really, well, I guess I can, because I feel like it sucks that he's not alive to have his own like personal like biography and his voice and his words, like how it went. That, I feel like that's the only thing that could have made this like way better, is if he was alive right now and it was his retelling of things and how he was feeling. That would have been what made this book better, but unfortunately he's not. So what can you do? You can really just read about his life and find out facts, things you didn't know, things you may have known but forgot. That's really all you can do in that kind of situation. Stephen King. This is my first Stephen King book, Misery, and the character in here is an author, a best-selling author. He gets in an accident and he is recovered from the accident by his biggest fan, and then it goes downhill from here. This I wouldn't say was too horror-y, but it was very like gross. Like the things she did, I cringed. It took me a little bit longer to read that because I was cringing. I think also on TikTok too, because I was really big on TikTok at this time. Well, not big, like my account wasn't big, like I personally was big on posting on TikTok. And my fiance had picked this book for this month for me to read. Oh my, it was so like, I was just so cringing, so I took a long time reading it, but it was really good, and I do want to read more books by Stephen King. This would probably be like a 4. Next, we have my introduction to Anna Wong with King of Wrath. I did annotate this book. I love this character. I love Vivian, and this was like a forced arranged marriage, and I guess I kind of do like this trope because they're billionaires, both of them. She comes from like a family like that's new money, and so her dad's kind of obsessed with like going up, and so he married her into someone who had old money because he wants that like status, that power. And it's like a 4.5. I'm obsessed with this series. I'm waiting for King of Sloth to come out. A Court of Mist and Fury. I think this was also 5-star. I think it's just a 5-star series. So anytime I hold up, it's 5. Okay? We're not gonna have to talk about the ratings. This is the second book, and this comes in, so sorry if this is a spoiler, but this happens after the ending of obviously the first book. So Tamlin and Farrah are set to get married, but Farrah still has that bond to Roseanne, and things go from there. Then we got into A Court of Wings and Ruins, and this is just like the war that's going on, basically. So this wasn't basically this wasn't my favorite just because this was more politic heavy, and I'm not the biggest fan of politics in fantasies, but they are very interesting to see how the world is set up. So it is very important when world building and having these books. We good? Then we have A Court of Frost and Starlight. This is a little novella that came after. It was cute. You could skip this one. On my Kindle, I read His and Hers by Alice Feeney. This was my first Alice Feeney book. This was a thriller, and it has the viewpoint of the ex-wife and the ex-husband, and they're going back and forth to basically see who. It's kind of like a whodunit, like who is killing all these people. And on Audible, we listened to Daisy Jones and the Six. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. I feel like her books are really good on Audible because the way they are written, it just is something that needs to be narrated. I was fully convinced that this band was a real band. It was set up interview style, and I love that, especially on Audible. It had me hooked. I had to finish it. When I was in the car, I was listening to it. When I was at home cooking, I was listening to it. I was listening to it all the time. It was so good. I have Vicious by V.E. Suave. This is a 5-star book. This is my kind of introduction to sci-fi. So this year I actually did kind of branch out. Now that I'm looking at everything I read, I did kind of branch out from my normal like mystery and romance, because I even got fantasy and I got sci-fi in here. They're like superheroes, but they're called not superheroes because they're not all good. They're called extraordinaries, and this has timelines. So it's going from future to past to well, not future, but from present to past, and kind of explaining how we got here. how Eli and Victor are like enemies, and it was so good. This was 5 stars. On my Kindle, I read You Shouldn't Have Come Here. This was very disappointing. This was a book I read because of my book group, and I don't even think this was supposed to be like a thriller, and it was reading more of like, oh, these people are gonna fall in love and have a romance, and then there's like this aspect of thriller at the end, and that aspect should have been the main focus of the book. This book is by Genevieve Rose, and apparently she's wrote a lot of thrillers that are popular, and I really did want to read them, but now after reading this, I was very disappointed, so I don't know if I'm gonna like those books. So I've kind of put them off, like on hold, because they're on Kindle. I think I have them downloaded on my Kindle actually right now, but I've been putting them off because I really didn't like this one. Yellow Face, and this is about, well, it's mainly about one author, but her friend, if you want to call her a friend, dies, and she dies in her presence, and she finds the manuscript of something that she was working on, and she passes it off as her own. The issue with this is the main character doing this, June. Main character doing this is white, and the manuscript she took is by an Asian woman dealing with Asian culture. Loved it. Love this book. This is a thriller, and it didn't have a lot of dialogue, so in the beginning I didn't know if I was really gonna like it. The main character is recommended this book. She reads it, hates it, leaves a 1-star review. After she leaves a 1-star review, the author comes after her, demanding that she takes it down. So we have Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. This was another dark romance. The main character, she is basically kind of on the run. She ends up in Australia because she just cannot go back to the U.S. And then she meets this guy who is, I don't know what they're technically called, but like he works with sharks. And he literally puts her head in the water with the sharks. So you're not supposed to die tonight. This is a YA thriller, and for this being YA, I thought it was really good. The ending took a turn that kind of confused me. I think it knocked it down a notch, so it's like a 4. This takes place in a camp where the main character, she is a camp counselor, and the camp is like a horror camp, so people come there and they do this little, I guess, trail with them, and there's a final girl, and it's like a little thriller camp where they put on this whole show, but there's other stuff going on, and camp counselors are quitting and just not showing up for their shift. They just can't keep people, which I'm just gonna put this all right here so I don't have to keep going back and forth with it. But because I basically read these back to back, is the entire Mindfuck series. It's it's 5 books, but they're really short. They're like 100 to 200 pages each. So I completely ate this up on my Kindle, and it's a serial killer and an FBI agent, and it's a romance.
Here's what I found.
Then on Audible, I listened to Take My Hand. This book I didn't rate really. It was a tricky one. This is historical fiction. Historical fiction usually really isn't my cup of tea, so that's why I feel like I didn't really rate it. It was good. It takes place with a nurse, and I think it's 2 different timelines. And the nurses back in the day, they're giving depot shots to underprivileged Black women, you know, girls, and now they're seeing the effects of depot, and how it's basically making them infertile, and how it was kind of wrong to give these girls the shot. Probably the second in the King of Sin series. I didn't annotate this one. I did like this. This was really cute. Isabella and Kai were super cute. Isabella's a writer, Kai a billionaire. Isabel is also a billionaire. Like, her family, she comes from money. She's struggling on her own though, trying to make it as a writer to prove her family that she can do this. Like, she can. The thing is, she's like just changed her mind so much about what she wants to be, that her family kind of is just like, girl, pick something and stick with it, or just work for the family. Love these characters. This was probably a 4. I think I gave it the same rating as King of Wrath. 4.5-ish. Buy the book. This book here, I could not get enough. The main character here is also Isabel and Bo. So Isabel works for a publishing company, and Bo is a famous, I can't remember, I think he's like a famous actor, and he's writing a book. And so she's sent from her publishing company to go help him finish the book. And from there, romance blooms. So cute. This book was so cute. I recommend it. It's a 5-star. I still think about that book. Have you read Taylor Jenkins Reid? I finally read Carrie Soto is Back. Again, yes, I still have a sticker. Leave me alone. This is about a retired tennis player who comes out of retirement because someone wants to beat her world record. I do have the physical book, but I did listen to it on Audible because it just makes it so much better. Yeah, I think Libby. Yeah, this is why I like Libby. It made it so much better because this is kind of like, her books are just meant to be listened to. I'm sorry. Like, I could definitely sit here and read it too. Like, read it as I listen to it. But this was so good. And you know, I wasn't that into tennis. Like, I did play a couple times with my mom and stuff like that when I was younger. So I didn't really think I would be into like a tennis book, you know? But I was just I was convinced that this was like a real tennis player. She's not a real tennis player. Like, that's how good she is with her, like, with writing these books. I don't know, I guess this is historical fiction too, but normally it's just not my cup of tea. It just has to have like a special like in it. After that, I read Dark Matter. I did DNF it. I don't know, I think just the writing style of it, like the concept was super interesting. The husband goes out with his science friends, and then when he basically gets kidnapped, and when he gets kidnapped and put back into like this different world, because I guess it's like a different world, his wife is no longer his wife, he no longer has a son, so it's like this alternate reality. And it sounded so good, but actually reading it, I don't know, I guess I just didn't like his writing style. I don't know what it was, but it was not giving, so I DNF'd it. The Hunger Games. So we read The Hunger Games, and we read Catching Fire. Like, we read these back to back because I was heavily invested. And this just follows Candace as she's thrown in to the Hunger Games, which is a competition basically to remind the districts not to rebel against the capital. That we read Things We Left Behind. This one was super disappointing. Super disappointing. This is still better than the second book, Things We Hide from the Light. It was still better. Yeah. It was super disappointing, and it's really sad that this was so disappointing because this was my most anticipated book from the series since book 1. I will forever hold this dearly to me because I do have that in there. And this makes me so happy because I do think I will be reading more from Lucy's Score. But this was so disappointing. This follows Lucien and Salome. And they're my most anticipated couple since book 1 because Sloane is a librarian, and Lucian is kind of like this bad boy guy, and so they have all this history, and it didn't give the way it was supposed to give, and it's so sad that this is so disappointing. I still enjoyed it, but I think this was like a 3 or 3.5, something like that. I was so disappointed. We have Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney. This isn't my favorite Alice Feeney book. This takes place on consecutive Mother's Day days, and so in the beginning of the book, a child goes missing, like she's kidnapped from the grocery store, and then like things unfold with these 3 characters. And it was kind of confusing at first because there's 3 different characters that you're following, their perspective. And so it all eventually lines up, but it was predictable. I predicted the whole thing. So it was like a 3.5. Truly Devious, which is a YA mystery thriller. The reason why I don't physically have this book is because I did donate it, because I will not be continuing the series. I did not love it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Stevie's the main character, and she's just so bent on being like a detective and solving crimes, and it just wasn't for me. That's all I can say. Like I don't know what it was. I don't know what I can, like, if there's anything I can pinpoint exactly. I think because one, the main murder or the main mystery that they were trying to solve, they didn't solve, and there was another one that they kind of solved, but like nothing actually happened. So I guess that's why you have to continue the series. But then I heard the second book doesn't even like, or maybe I heard wrong. Either way, I've decided that I'm not finishing it. But I heard the second book doesn't even like answer those unsolved questions, and I was just like, yeah, no, it's not for me. You guys, this is editing Audrey. New day. Video is completely basically edited, and I realized I forgot 2 books. How did I do that? I do not know. I read or I listened to on Audible A Moth to a Flame. This was 5 stars. It's actually a part of a series, and I cannot wait to finish or go back and read the series. I think I'm gonna just put it on my Kindle. But I was literally in shambles. And then I also read In Our Hands. This is I guess a contemporary romance, and it has a death character, and it's like best friends to lovers, and it was really cute. I'm trying to keep this video short, this little editing video short, and just let you know that was a 4.5. And so I'm just gonna insert the pictures here. And yeah, because this video is already like 1 hour and 8 minutes, and I'm like, I don't know how everyone does wrap-ups under an hour, and they've read more than me. I only read 85 books, and I cannot get together. I kept forgetting stuff. It's an hour, and I'm like, oh my gosh. What am I doing? Hopefully you like it. Maybe I just talk too much. Whatever. Back to the video. Then we have Mockingjay, the 3rd book in the Hunger Games series, the trilogy, the original trilogy. This kind of wraps it up, and yeah, I'm not gonna say too much about that because it's, again, series. You know, you kind of have to read them to know. But it was the Hunger Games trilogy I finished and read for the first time in 2023. A Very Secret Society for Irregular Witches. This was a little cute Halloween book, and I loved it. I actually read this on my Kindle, and then I was gifted this for a book group I'm a part of. We do Fairy Fridays, and I was actually gifted the actual copy after I read it on Kindle. And I was like, this is super cute because I might actually read this again next year for Halloween. It just follows, it takes place in Britain, and it follows the main character, Mika, and she is a witch, and she's hired to teach these little witches had to be witches and had to control their magic, and then it goes from there. And it's really cute. It's not where I thought it was going. I really thought this was going to be like a romance or like heavy romance. Completely threw me off, but I still loved it. It was super cute. We did. We read this baby. We did listen to this on Audible because, as we know, thick books scare me. I did this in October. I did a whole video on that, as you guys can see on my channel, where I read my highest and lowest rated books, and this was the highest, so we chose this. We did listen to it on Audible. I loved it. This follows Nesta, and I put this off for so long because in the original like 3 books, I hated Nesta. I hated her. But we get her point. This is actually, it's third person too, which is really weird. I feel like I would love it even more if it was in first person. But I still loved Nessa and Cassian. This actually is my favorite book in the series now, which is crazy to say because I hated Nesta. Hated her. Some people are just like, this book is just straight smut, and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of smut in here. But aside from that, still really loved it. Then going back to that video where I read my highest and lowest, I read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. This I think I gave like a 3, just because the characters were so unlikable. It takes place at like a high school reunion where they're trying to basically figure out who killed this girl all these years later. The characters are super unlikable. I just ended up hating them all. So this was like a 2. I don't have the physical copy just yet, but I read Divine Rivals on my Kindle. I think I read and listened to it on audio and my Kindle. This book was so cute. I loved every moment of it. All the letters that they were writing back and forth through the enchanted closet. Oh my gosh, like this is like, if you're a romance girly, you'll love this. You'll eat this up. I feel like it's more heavy on the romance than it is fantasy. So I saw people comparing it with Fourth, like you're either Fourth, no, it's completely different. Fourth Wing is definitely more fantasy. Divine Rivals is definitely more like romance with like a touch of fantasy, because right they're in this world where these gods are like fighting and there's war, and it still just takes place with this, the main character Iris being in the newspaper writing about these events and like worrying about her brother who is in the war. And I love this boy so much, and I love Fourth Wing so much. So I don't think you're either a Fourth Wing girl or you're a Divine Rival girl. I think it's just marketed wrong on TikTok, especially because they're completely different. Like Divine Rivals is like a smidge of fantasy. It's not a fantasy. It really is not that much of a fantasy. It's more heavy on the romance because the letters they were writing to each other. Going back into the series, we have Vengeful, which is the second book. Did not really love this. I think this is like this is a 2. This was the most unnecessary sequel ever because it didn't really it did nothing for me. We got introduced to a bunch of new characters, and I was just like, I really only care about Victor and Eli. This was unnecessary. Of October, I did do a video on it. This was like the Amazon Creature Feature collection, and it was like 5 short stories. And so we started with I don't think that was the order I read it, but we start with the pram. And if you watch the video, you know I struggled understanding what a pram was, but we finally understood what a pram was. And this was super creepy. It was super creepy. So I just go watch that video for the explanation on these books here. The Pram, It Waits in the Wood, In the Blooms, Ankle Snatcher, and Best of Luck. Because I did do a fully spoilery. Read it on my Kindle. I loved every single one. Not every single one. My favorites were definitely The Pram, Best of Luck, and I think Big Bad. Yes, those three were my favorite, and I am gonna look for more of those authors' works, especially Jason Mont, who wrote Best of Luck, because that book, I had to take a break for a little bit, continuing reading the rest of the books in that. It was so good. I need more of him. So I need to figure out what else he's written. I was really heavy on my Kindle this month because we also read Butcher and Blackbird. I gave this like a 3. These two characters are both serial killers, and they have like a little challenge going on, a little rivalry going on to see who can kill the serial killer, because they're serial killers who kill serial killers. So it's very much a dark romance too, so check the trigger warnings on that. Then we read Ninth House. It was kind of boring up until the very end, so I've been debating if I want to read the second book, Hellbound. But then everyone says like you need to read them back to back because you're gonna forget a lot of stuff. So I'm debating it if I'm debating, because I think I was also in a slump too, so I'm debating if I should do like a reread and then read Hellbound, because the ending was really, really good, but like up until the ending I was kind of just like what like what's going on. I think I was very lost and confused. The Housemaid, and I did record me reading this. I was in a slump when I read this, so I did record myself reading this, but then I stopped recording and I went on to another vlog. So I believe this is a 5-star. Yeah, I think I gave this 5 stars. This was a thriller, and it takes place, or it takes, so the first part of the book, which is really cool, is the viewpoint of the housemaid herself, and then it like completely switches, and the ending kind of like, I guessed it a little bit before it was revealed, and I really did like everything in there. There is a trope in here that do not love, but I feel like it was kind of necessary for the whole plan that was hatched. Then we read Harry Potter for the first time. So this is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This whole series is like 5-star, and it just brings me back to my childhood. I love the movies, love the books. It was so much fun reading this for the first time. I got really deep into watching the movies and reading the books. I read the first one, and then I read the second one. Did I read the third one? Yes, and I read the third one all in November, and I do have a video out on this because I was trying to watch the movies and read the book at the same time, which was kind of distracting because I ended up really just watching the movie and then being like, oh yeah, I'm here in the book, but I'm not there in the... I still had a great time. I'm Powerless. This book, I feel like, was very overhyped on TikTok. This is like, everyone's saying this is supposed to be like Hunger Games and Red Queen. I DNF Red Queen like a long time ago. It felt really slow to me. Hunger Games, I love Hunger Games. I feel like a lot of fantasies, they always try to put the trials in there, and I'm like, it's not necessary for every like book to have like a trial. Like you have to have all these trials, and especially here because it didn't make any sense. Like she has like no powers at all, and she's in competition of people with powers, and she's somehow able to beat all of them. And then like there's no like she's somehow able to stay alive, and then she stays alive through the whole thing, and there's no real reward for the trial. Like the trial is just like to show off that you're super powerful, and she has no power. This was not worth it. It was not worth the hype. 2 stars. I kept saying I was gonna finish the series because I was so invested and I was highlighting, and I kept thinking something was wrong with me because I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I mean, if you liked it, you liked it. I just didn't like it, and I won't be continuing the series. The ending was amazing though, so it kind of did want me to make me continue because I thought maybe, you know, the next one will be more original. I'm just not gonna finish it unless like I see some spoilers on there that it's really, really good. But it's gonna have to be like someone I drew like that. Airplane. This was so huge. I read it and I listened to it on audio because it was so huge. I just did not want to mess anything up about this book. This is the second part and it picks up. The beginning I feel like was kind of slow because like she's just in bed eating in the beginning and I'm like, okay, like you found out this crucial thing at the end and now you're just eating in bed like nothing happened. Like what? I loved. I did love every moment of. I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I was wondering why this pile here next to me I skipped over. I read this. This is President Snow's like origin story. I feel like it wasn't really an origin story, so I didn't love it. Can't wait to watch the movie though. Then I also read Legendborn. This book was very confusing at first. I did have to restart it just because there's a lot of terminology, but once you get into this world, you get into this world. The main character, her mother dies, and now she's discovering like this whole like secret kind of a legend that has to do with King Arthur in this college that she goes to, and apparently it's like a big deal that she like can see these creatures. Really good. Book 2 is already out, Bloodmarked, but I don't want the hardcover, so I have to wait till February to get book 2. Otherwise I would have completed this book. I do recommend this. It's like a 4.5. I would have finished I think it's 3 books, but the third one's not even out yet. The second book is out yet, but it's not out in paperback, and I hate when they do that. Like just put it out in paperback first and then put it out in hardcover. So going back, because we skipped a couple things, I read Hooked on my Kindle. It was just pure smut. There's nothing else to describe that book except for pure smut. I heard, because it's a series, but like they take place with different characters, like different like the next book is supposed to be like Scarred from The Lion King. This book was like based off of Captain Hook and Wendy. It was pure smut. So I mean, if you're not judging, but I need a little bit more. Like I don't care if it's in my book. I don't care if it's not in my book. I just needed more plot. Then after that, we read King of Greed. I just love the series so much. I feel like this was a little bit more disappointing in the series, just because this is supposed to be like a marriage in turmoil. I feel like the main character was super duper hard on herself, and I just needed her to not be that hard on herself. And it also wasn't giving that much marriage in turmoil, especially since they signed the divorce super quick. Like, you've been married 11 years and you just signed the document? Like, no. Then we got back into Harry Potter. We read the 4th one, my favorite one, The Goblet of Fire. And I love this one because it has the little ballroom dance. And then, in the movie, you can see that Hermione and Ron are like beefing because I guess it's like the beginning of their like relationship. And kind of seeing that they like each other. But in the book, it's heavy. It's heavy. Like, the beefs in here are real. Like the beef with Ron and Harry, because Ron just thinks that Harry put himself in this competition when he didn't. It's so much deeper in the book than it is in the movie. So I'm so glad that I got into this series. We read Red Rising. This is a little bit out of order because I definitely finished Red Rising before The Goblet of Fire. This I would say was like a 4. I do want to continue the series. This follows Daryl, and they live in space. They live in Mars, and they basically, it's all a lie. So they've been told that they're basically getting Mars ready for people to live in, but people already live there. So I recommend. We started Royal Holiday, which is a Christmas book. We DNF'd it. We DNF'd it because the book ended up being a romance about the mom who's like 50 something, and I didn't think it was gonna be about the mom, so we DNF'd it. Then we picked up Love Life Farms. This is a cute Christmas book. This is like a 3, but I do recommend it because like Christmas and holiday books, they're like, you know, they're just cute, fun things. Like, they're like Hallmarky, like very cheesy, cringy. The character did end up pissing me off a little bit because she was completely oblivious, and I don't know how she was that oblivious when the whole town knew. Like, the whole town knew. They hold hands, they act like a couple, but they weren't a couple. I'm like, how are you that oblivious? He likes you. Also read My Roommate is a Vampire. I read this in October. This was just a super cute, cheesy Halloween book where the love interest was a vampire. And the girl was looking for a house because she was down on her luck, and she ends up moving in with him, and then they end up being together. The romance wasn't that convincing, but it was super cute. Off with Serpents and the Wings of the Night. The ending went crazy. Can't tell you what else happened in the book, but I can tell you the ending went insane. The 85 books. I mean, you can subtract 3 if you don't count DNF as books read. Then you can subtract 3 from 85. You do that math. But those are the books that I read in 2023. So this is my 2023 wrap up, and now I have to go clean up this mess. And I hope you had fun. I still can't believe it's 2024. I did want to film this earlier, but I've been in like a slump. So I only read 2 books in December, Love Light Farms and Serpents and the Wing of the Night. Those were the only 2 books I read in December. So I have been slumping very hard. So if you have any recommendations or, you know, anything you think of to help me get out of the slump, greatly appreciated. But we're gonna go ahead and clean up, cook a little dinner, edit this video, and maybe we can read. All right. Oh my gosh, you guys. I don't know what's going on with me. I was getting ready to put my books back on my bookshelf, and then I realized I still had one book like laid out that I did not talk about. I read Once Upon a Broken Heart as well in 2023. This book right here I think is a 4.5. This takes place in like I would say this is more like a fairy tale-ish book where the main character, I can't say her name, so Miss Fox is what we'll call her. I don't know why, I always get tongue-tied when I try to say her name. So Miss Fox, she has a broken heart right now, and so she makes a deal with the prince or the king of hearts, Jax, and she has to do 3 kisses for this deal to work, and it's crazy. And so I had to pick up book 2 and 3, so that's on my TBR, so I can't wait to get back into this series. But I do recommend this. This is a YA, but it's really super cute, and I loved every moment of it. So I might pick this up after I finish the book that I'm currently in the middle of. Don't know, but I filmed one video today that's already should be up. I filmed this video, and then I have to film another one with my TBR, so I'm gonna have to look at my little cart back there and see how I gotta clean up. I'm gonna have to look at my cart and go through there and then come up with a January TBR for you guys. And see, you can see in there, I still have my Santa pants on because I have just been filming today. So we're gonna film a little TBR later, probably when the kids go to sleep. Right now we're gonna cook din din. But I can't believe I forgot this.